To install the Michelin Track Connect solution, 4 connectable Michelin tires are required. These can be identified by the Connect marking on the sidewall of the tire and the patch inside the tire into which the sensor is installed. The kit includes 4 sensors, a mobile phone holder, and a case. The case contains 2 USB cables of different lengths, a cigarette lighter adapter, and a receiver box that relays data between the sensors and the phone. With the Connect tires, there are a few steps that are different to conventional fitting. We will therefore focus on these specific steps. First, install the sensor inside the tire. To do this, you need to turn down the edges of the patch outward, then insert the sensor, ensuring that it is correctly positioned in the patch. Finally, close the edges of the patch around the sensor so that it can't move. Take care to ensure that the sensor antenna is positioned perpendicular to the sidewall of the tire. This is essential to ensure communication between the sensors and the receiver box. Next, mark the position of the sensor on the outside sidewall of the tire with a white marker. Then mount the tire on the rim. Care must be taken to prevent the sensor from coming into contact with the flange of the rim. Also ensure that the sensor is positioned in the quarter preceding the valve. Then fit the tire to the rim as you usually do. The sensor remains in position in the quarter preceding the valve. Complete the fitting and balancing of the tire, making sure that, when you move the tire, the sensor is not loose inside. Finally, attach the fitting assembly to the vehicle as usual. You now need to pair the smartphone with the receiver box. After asking your customer to download the application, create their account, and configure their vehicle, take the case from the kit, remove the receiver box, and start by connecting the cable to the box. The receiver box must be placed in the center of the vehicle to ensure it reliably receives data from the 4 sensors. Then connect it to the vehicle's USB port. Once plugged in, the indicator light begins to flash white. After installing the box, open the application and, in the My Garage menu, select the vehicle, click on Receiver, then on Add a Receiver, and start the scan. Next, select the code for the receiver and click it again to confirm. The indicator light turns from flashing white to steady blue. Pairing is complete. If several codes appear when you start the scan, select the code corresponding to the label on the underside of the receiver box. You now need to initialize the sensors. The recommended method is to use automatic mode with TPMS remote control like ATEQ. Start the application and, in the My Garage menu, select the vehicle and scroll down until the vehicle plan is displayed on the screen. Click on one of the quadrants to access the tire configuration menu. The application is now connected to the receiver. Take the ATEQ remote control and place it at the level of the sensor using the mark on the tire. Select Test TPM on the ATEQ, then Retrofit, Michelin, 2018, 4 wheels, and then select the tire you are currently initializing. In the application, click on the corresponding quadrant to start the search and, at the same time, scan the tire with the ATEQ remote control by pressing the green Transmit button to force the sensor to wake up. Check that the sensor serial number is the same on the ATEQ remote and the smartphone. Follow the same procedure for the other 3 tires. Your sensors have now been identified, and you can return to the main menu. Mount the bracket in the vehicle and install the smartphone. The solution is then ready to be used. To initialize the sensors in manual mode without an ATEQ remote control, you need to note the serial number of each sensor before installing them in the tires. This number is located just below the sensor antenna. Make sure you check sensor-to-tire placement before fitting and balancing the tires. After pairing the receiver box and while you are still in the tire configuration menu, press and hold the quadrant corresponding to the sensor whose serial number you want to enter. A serial number window opens in which you enter the sensor serial number. After the serial numbers of the 4 sensors have been entered, the process is complete. Check again that the serial numbers correspond to your form. If any of the serial numbers do not match, click on the trash icon, confirm the deletion, and repeat the process. You can then return to the main menu. The second option involves connecting the sensor by slightly deflating the tire. To do this, again in the Tire Configuration menu, click on the tire you want to identify and then deflate that tire slightly. The sensor will detect a pressure loss and emit a signal that will be detected by the application. Do the same for the 3 other tires. Then check again that the serial numbers correspond to your form. Sensor identification is complete.